G'day, Craig here from Catalyst Business Coaching. I want to give you 7 practical tips that you can use right away to help your business get through this coronavirus, including some really important tips to get cash back from the ATO right away. Well, these are certainly unprecedented times for small business or any business, and it's nothing that I've ever seen before. So I want to give you 7 practical tips that you can start using right away to help your business work through this coronavirus. Now, I'm not an alarmist, and I don't think we should worry about things that we can't control. We obviously can't control whether the government puts a limit on how many people can gather together, or whether schools will continue or not. But what we can control is our response to them. And the worst thing that we can do is nothing. Standing like a deer in the headlights and hoping that someone else is going to fix the problems that we are all facing as small businesses. So now is the time to take action. So as well as helping businesses as a coach and mentor, I actually also have some of my own small businesses, so I understand and feel the pain that you're going through. And so I want to give you some really practical tips to help you work through this coronavirus, whether it lasts for 3 months, 6 months or longer, so that you can survive through that and hopefully thrive on the other side when things pick up, as they no doubt will. I don't know about you, but I'm old enough to remember September 11. I remember my flatmate at the time waking me up in the middle of the night and sitting on the couch and watching the second plane crash into tower number 2. At the time, there was a lot of fear and curiosity as to what the world might be after those attacks. But after a period of time, things settled down. But things did change. No longer could you walk up to the front of a cockpit and have a chat with the pilots. We now have stricter security requirements when we go to the airport. We have to take off our shoes and belts and those sorts of things. So no doubt after coronavirus, the world will change. But we want to be part of the solution and not part of the problem, and work through those problems together. So before I get into these 7 tips, I do want to do a disclaimer. Now, I am an accountant and a registered tax agent, so I can give you accounting and tax advice, but any advice that's given would be general in nature and you should speak to your accountant. Also, I'm not a financial planner, so I can't give you any financial planning advice. So anything that is of that nature is simply factual in nature. So that out the way, let's get straight into these 7 practical tips to help you in your business. All right, that disclaimer over, let's get straight into it. So the first thing that you need to do is triage your business. So just as when you go to an emergency department, the nurses are going to triage everyone who attends and work out what's most important and who's most critical. And you need to do that in your business. Cash is king. You need to preserve that cash as much as possible. So the first thing that you can do is get out your P&L, your profit and loss, and start from top to bottom, working through the expenses, whether that's cost of goods sold or through your operating overheads and other costs, and go through each one line by line. Look at the detail and find out where the fat is. Where are the things that you can cut? Are there unnecessary lunches, subscriptions that you've forgotten about, an extra mobile phone plan that you didn't realize you have? You need to get into the detail and work out those things that aren't necessary. Now, in cutting things, can I suggest that you start with cutting your big corporate supplier expenses? Without naming names, let's start at the big end of town, and let's, if we can, leave the little guys till last, because they're the ones that are going to be hurting the most. So try and cut the bigger ones first. So you want to be understanding to your customers that are also probably hurting like you are, but don't be naive about it either. You don't want to put your business in jeopardy at the benefit of someone else's business. And what I mean by that is sometimes customers might ask for something, your customers might ask for something for free. And so I pose the question, just because of coronavirus, could you go to the petrol station and get your petrol for free? The answer is no. And so I would give that same response to any customers who might ask for something for free of you. Now, that doesn't mean that you might not offer a discount or a solution that benefits both of you, but be careful not to be naive about the risks that are out there. If you have new customers come on board, or customers that you know that are notoriously bad payers, I would be asking for payment upfront before I provided products or services. You don't want to put your good business at risk because someone has a bad business and bad business practices. Another practical thing that you can do in terms of triaging your business and looking after your cash is actually starting to list your assets on the PPSR. So the PPSR is the Personal Property Securities Register, and what that does is it allows you to make sure that you have preferential treatment if any of your customers should wind up. If your assets, even your debts, aren't listed on there, then you will fall in with the standard creditors in the event of a wind up. And so that's kind of a long-term prevention, but it's something that's going to be really important to do at this time. What you should also be doing, I know this isn't in with the business, but is also triaging your own home and personal expenses. So sit down with your spouse or partner, and even your kids as well, and look at your home expenses. Look at those things that aren't immediately necessary. Perhaps there's some subscriptions that you've signed up to but aren't using and you've forgotten about. So look to cancel those where you can. So get the family involved. Help the kids to understand the uncertain times that we're in. Communicate with them and they'll be on board with you as you try and do your best to work through this. One practical tip that you can do in triaging your business, and again, often with small businesses, the home is on the line as well. You can contact your bank and look for a repayment holiday. Often the banks give these holidays for up to 3 months. Now this is something that Italy, the government has actually mandated, rent-free and mortgage-free for a period of time. But you can get on the front foot, speak to your bank and see if you can get a repayment holiday. So that's tip number 1, triage your business and triage your home. So tip number 2 is to use the government incentives that are available. Last week, the government announced a over $17 billion package to help families and small businesses. And in fact, as of today, there is talk that the government is going to release a second package to help the economy. Now, those incentives are accelerated depreciation on certain assets, as well as an instant asset write-off increased to $150,000. There are certain criteria behind those, which I won't go into great detail, but I do want to focus on the 2 that will have an immediate cash benefit for your business. And that is the cash injection of up to $25,000 per business and the 50% wage subsidy for apprentices and trainees. So the $25,000 tax-free cash bonus is based on your pay-as-you-go instalments for the March and June quarters. Now that's up to $25,000 with a minimum of $2,000 for payers. And that amount will be based on 50% of your withholding wages. So let's say, for example, your wages bill for the quarter is $50,000. You withhold, let's say, $10,000 in tax. When you lodge your BAS, the government will give you tax-free 50% of that $10,000, being $5,000. Now, these items are not legislation yet. The government's hoping to pass those, I believe, on the 23rd of March. but those are real cash benefits to your business. The instant asset write-off and the accelerated depreciation are not immediate cash benefits to you. They will only be beneficial once your tax return's lodged. And so they're something that you could consider as you get closer to the 30th of June, but they're not going to be an immediate cash benefit to your business right now. The apprentice and trainee 50% subsidy, again, the government will pay 50% of those wages for certain businesses and certain trainees, but again, details still to be confirmed as legislation gets passed. So number 3 is to provide exceptional service to your customers. I mean, this is good business advice anyway, but as you go above and beyond, this will build loyalty with your customers both now and beyond the coronavirus. So take a long-term view with your customers. Now, I'm not suggesting that you sink your business to give things away for free, as we've spoken about, but to provide service above and beyond what you would normally provide to the customer. They will appreciate it, they'll tell their fellow business owners about it, and you may end up picking up more business in that way too. I had some great advice when I was a young accountant that really stuck with me. I had the opportunity to interview the CEO of the business that I worked for, and it wasn't an accounting practice, it was a call centre business in fact. And I asked him a bunch of questions, and the last one that I asked was, what was the one piece of advice that he would have for me? And he said to build your business on great customer service, because you can't change great service overnight, but you can always change your price overnight. And that bit of advice has really stuck with me. Price can be changed in an instant. And if you need to match a price to win a contract, then you can change that. But if you need to increase your customer service, that is very difficult to do in a short period of time. So those businesses that provide service above and beyond their competitors have a competitive advantage. And if you need to change price at the last minute, then you can do that, but you can't change service that easily. So everyone is likely going to be wearing some pain during this coronavirus process. But if you have great service, you can quickly adjust your price to accommodate and set yourself up well for when this is over. And we need to be really grateful for every customer that we have. So one example of providing service above and beyond is Zoom. So Zoom provide online webinars, coaching and other solutions. They have offered worldwide to provide free video conferencing to all schools from kindergarten to year 12. And that is a solution they've provided to provide service above and beyond, obviously because a lot of schools are planning to work from home. So they're giving away some of their product for free. And I know I said don't give things away for free, but just remember this is a software company that's built this software, and it doesn't cost them really anymore to distribute it. But they're providing an exceptional service in a time of need, and I have no doubt that they will be repaid many times over for taking this opportunity to over-service their customers. So that's number 3, provide exceptional service. So number 4 is really important, talk to your suppliers and creditors. And when I say talk, I mean physically talk on the phone, not just by email. People will love to hear a voice, especially in days like today. So get on the phone to them. Understand, particularly for your suppliers, their supply chain and where you fit into that supply chain, and understand their supply chain as well. And make sure that you've got continuity of business, that you're going to be able to continue to provide your service to your customers and that they aren't going to hold that up. Also talk to them about terms. See if there's the option to negotiate some better terms for your business. If you do have a large spare amount of cash, which is fantastic, you might also be able to negotiate discounted terms for early payment, which can save you some cash and obviously beneficial to your supplier. Now, when it comes to your creditors, talk to them. Don't bury your head in the sand. The worst thing you can do as I said at the start, is nothing. They want to hear from you. They want to help you as well. And if you ignore them, they're more likely to send your debt to collection than they are to try and negotiate with you. So again, with your creditors, get on the phone, talk to them early, tell them where you're at, and you'll find a better outcome as you do that. And one of the most important things is to also talk to your bank. They are a creditor too. And generally they want to help you out as well. And as with your other creditors, don't ignore them, don't bury your head in the sand. Get on the front foot early. And the reason is that if you start talking to them now, you're going to get in before everyone else does. And if you can get that conversation going early before all the other businesses in a few weeks' time are knocking on their door, you're going to be at the top of the list for them to help out. So start early, talk to them, see about any additional line of credit or other options that they've got for you to help you out. And lastly, when we're talking about suppliers and creditors, and probably one creditor that we don't think about, and that's the Australian Tax Office. And so what I'm going to suggest to you now might seem a bit naughty. You might think I'm going to get in trouble, but I'm going to suggest that you consider not paying your next BAS. Now, before you pick yourself up off the floor, let me explain. I'm not telling you not to lodge your BAS. You should absolutely do that. But the ATO is here to help, and they have instructions from the government on how they can do that. For example, and this is on their website, you can go and find it yourself if you don't believe me. Once your BAS is lodged, you can talk about having that payment deferred for up to 4 months. Not only that, if you are, for example, a company and you've paid company tax installments, you can have your September and December quarter installments adjusted to 0 so that you can get and relodge those BAS and get real cash back now. So let's say, for example, your installments were $10,000 for September and $10,000 for December for your pay-as-you-go tax installments on those BASs. You can amend those BAS to be 0 for those installments. The ATO will refund you $20,000. That's $20,000 cash back into your business. You can also, as I said before, defer the payment of future GST and pay-as-you-go. Now, there's no guarantee on this. You do have to ask for it. You do need to call the tax office. You can't just do nothing, as I said again. So speak to your accountant and tax advisor, get your BASs lodged on time, and then talk to the ATO about your specific circumstances, particularly with the deferrals. And there's plenty of opportunities to get that cash back into your business. Now, just as a warning, this doesn't apply to superannuation. You need to report and pay your employee superannuation on time. There are severe director penalties and personal liabilities if you don't do those on time. So super must be done, but there is opportunities to work with the tax office in very generous deferral and refund options when it comes to your GST and your pay-as-you-go tax installments. So that's number 4, talk to your suppliers and creditors. All right, tip number 5, talk and listen to your employees. Now, your employees are human too. They're feeling probably many of the feelings that you are with regard to your business and their position in it. So talk to them, communicate to them often. Let them know how the business is doing and where it's up to. Being upfront and honest is the best way to go. You can also ask them what they're seeing on the front line. Get them to help you understand what's happening out on the street with the customers that they're dealing with, the suppliers that they're dealing with. It'll give you great insights into your business. Now, the reality is that for many businesses, you might not be able to save every one of your employees, and that is just a fact of doing business. And it's a very tough decision, and one that you will grapple with and probably keep you up at night. And even with the government incentives and your best intentions and the things that we've talked about today, there may be some employees that you just can't keep. There is no point in keeping everyone and then the business fails and no one has a business or a job. And so those are the tough decisions that you have to make as a business owner. I've made them in the past, and they are tough, but they are decisions that you have to make for the greater good of those employees that can still remain. So get advice from your employment relations specialist or other trusted advisor before you go about doing that, so that you do it properly, respectfully, carefully, and so that there's no extra implications for yourself or the business. Before it gets to that point though, there are things that you can do. You can look at asking employees to take leave. You can look at having split shifts. So for example, let's say you have 10 employees, you might ask 5 to take leave and 5 to stay, and then for a week, and then you swap that around. Talk to your employees, see what you can work out. Again, getting advice from the right people with regards to HR and employment relations law, just so that you make sure that you do it right. And as I'm sure you will do so, do it fairly for your employees. And lastly, with regards to talking and listening to your employees, have a conversation with your employees about playing above the line. Now, if you're not familiar with that, Google above the line. It's about taking ownership for our actions, taking responsibility for them, and not making excuses or blaming other people. The workplace could become toxic very quickly if we allow that sort of behaviour to continue. So Google above the line, there's no time for me to go into that right now, but you want to make sure that as an owner and your employees, they're playing above the line. So that's accepting ownership and responsibility for their actions and not blaming and denying anyone else. So that's number 5, talk and listen to your employees. Okay, number 6, we're almost there, and that's be creative. How can I continue to deliver my product or service when things have been interrupted? So for example, if I'm a restaurant or cafe and I'm seeing lower revenues because people are staying away, look at other options. For example, delivery, obviously there's Uber Eats, Deliveroo, Menulog. Look at creative solutions there. If I ran live events, then of course you can look at using online software and material to create them to be online events. There's no reason why those events, in many cases, would need to be cancelled. If you're a tradie and people are concerned about you coming to their home and getting sick, you could share a quick video with them on the safety precautions that you take, gloves, masks, whatever it is, to help them feel comfortable that they're going to be safe in using your services. You should also look for opportunities, but not exploitations. So opportunities are there to build long-term benefit to your customers and to your business. Exploitations are short-term and they ruin your goodwill with your customers. So this is not a time to price gouge on toilet paper or face masks. This is a time to build long-term relationships and opportunities for your business and your customers. And there's been some really creative solutions out there. Some of you may have seen this post from Tent World. They were offering a Scotties $750 pandemic couples recovery kit. So as you know, $750 will be landing in people's accounts by the end of the month, assuming the legislation passes. And with this, Tent World was offering or encouraging people to use that money to buy a tent and other equipment and take a holiday locally, because obviously we've been encouraged to holiday local with the bushfires and other things that have been going on. And so they've created a creative campaign about that. I see that as an opportunity that they've taken to make the most of this difficult situation. I've also mentioned already that Zoom are offering free video conferencing for all schools. This is something that doesn't cost them a lot, but they're building a long-term opportunity and goodwill with their customers. So get creative and think about, grab your team together, think about ways that you can be creative in delivering your product or service and take advantage of, as I said, the opportunities, but not the exploitations in this sort of situation. One example of this is when at the height of the toilet paper crisis, there was a bidet supplier. If you don't know what a bidet is, go and Google it. That had a run, if that's a bad pun, a run on selling bidets, as people were finding out they didn't have toilet paper supplies. So again, another creative way to take an opportunity in a difficult circumstance. And number 7, and the final tip, is to be productive. You may have extra time on your hands if you're not going to the footy, concerts or other things. Now, while I'm sure you'll be flat out in your business, use the extra time that you've got to upskill and educate yourself. Take an online course, download an Audible book, listen to a podcast. Don't binge watch Netflix and waste your time away. Use this time to be productive and upskill. This will no doubt end. We don't know when and we don't know how long it will go for, but you want to come out of the other side stronger. So be productive with your time. This is what successful entrepreneurs and business owners do. And lastly, be kind. These are difficult times and people are struggling, and so just be kind and be patient. So those are my 7 practical tips that you can start implementing right away. So number 1, triage your business and your personal finances. Number 2, use the government incentives that are available to you, including contacting the tax office to get pay-as-you-go instalments back straight away. So cash in your pocket and look at those deferrals. Provide exceptional service to your customers. Talk to your suppliers and creditors. Talk and listen to your employees. Be creative, and finally, be productive and kind. So I want you to make a plan to start working on this straight away. So get out your diary, book in a time tomorrow that you can catch up with your business partner, life partner, spouse, and start working on triaging your business and your family finances. So get your diary out now, book that in for tomorrow. Now look, I really hope that you've found this helpful. From one small business owner to another, I really do hope that you can implement some of these strategies to help your business work through this coronavirus situation. If you have found this helpful, would you please share this with other business owners? I hope that they will be able to get something out of it too. So if you'd like more help, I'd really love to be able to help you out. So book an appointment online and we'll have a strategy session and talk about how we can help you further. Thanks for your time. Craig from Catalyst Business Coaching. All the best.